Hello and welcome to Leveraging AI, the podcast that shares practical, ethical ways to leverage AI to improve efficiency, grow your business, and advance your career. This is Isar Meitis, your host, and I've got an exciting show for you today. I talk to a lot of business people, business leaders, and marketers specifically about AI usage, and too many of them jump straight into generating content. Why? Because it feels, and it is to an extent, the low-hanging fruit. Right? You can use generative AI, whether ChatGPT or Bard or Claude or specific dedicated tool like copy.ai or one of those to generate content, right? You can generate images through DALL-E, you can generate blog posts, you can generate posts for social media, etc. But the reality is that's the final step in the marketing process, right? There's a lot of many steps before that. Actually, generative AI does extremely well, from the research phase to analysis to defining the needs and the pain points of people and so on. There's multiple steps in which you can use generative AI to get better results than you're getting today, and most likely faster than you're getting today. Our guest today, Andrew Bolis, has been in marketing his entire career, and I'm talking about a couple of decades. And he started as a marketing intern, and he worked his way through the ranks all the way to being a CMO of a SaaS company and anything in between. He took roles and responsibilities of every aspect of marketing. So now when he's in this past year combining it with AI tools, he's not just, oh, I got this AI expertise. He brings in a very deep understanding of marketing across all its aspects and capabilities. And currently, he's holding fractional CMO positions in several different businesses across different industries, helping them implement AI in marketing to increase their efficiency and improve their results. So I find this very exciting. Grab a pen or a magic wand and get ready to learn some serious AI marketing magic. Andrew, welcome to Leveraging AI.
Thank you for having me on the show. Excited to be here and excited to talk about how to use AI for marketing. And as you mentioned, beyond just writing content or generating design, how to use it for sort of full-blown marketing.
Fantastic. So before we dive into the AI stuff, let's talk about the steps, right? I said there's multiple steps. I'll let you go through the steps before people actually write content, and to be fair, what's happening after you write the content and share your stuff. So let's walk through the steps, and then let's dive into each step and how you can use AI, how people can use AI, what tools they can use, what prompts they can use in order to get results.
Yeah, that sounds great. And these steps, I came up with them from doing marketing campaigns myself. At one point, I was managing a team of campaign managers. So as we look at these steps, they work not just for campaigns, but any good marketing and even sales. You have to do these steps before you start doing anything really effective in business. So just to quickly say the steps: step 1, ICP research. Step 2 is ideation. Step 3, campaign plan. Step 4 is copywriting. Step 5 is design. Step 6, channels. Step 7 is execution. And then there's a sort of a bonus step at the end, which is just looking at KPIs and how everything is performing.
I'll say two things for those who are listening who are not marketers. ICP, the very first step, is ideal customer persona. Basically, how do you specify your target audience in the most optimal way? And I'll say something about your last bonus step. In my eyes, that's the most important step in business growth, is to actually understand what you're doing, how it's working, and whether it's working, so you can make data-based decisions versus just shoot from your hip and follow your gut. And so I love your steps. And really, let's dive right in. So you started with ICP research. How do you use AI to do that?
Sure. So you have to really understand your target audience, what they care about, what your sort of ideal customer profile looks like. And in this case, we're going to do this using ChatGPT. So if you're going to use a prompt, it could be something very simple. Here's one that you can use: ChatGPT, analyze and summarize the ideal customer profile for a SaaS business that specifically targets e-commerce companies, and briefly summarize the key strengths and weaknesses of my top 3 competitors in the SaaS space. So what this does is it allows ChatGPT to capitalize on all the publicly available information it gathered in the model and find you all kinds of interesting insights specifically for that segment that you can then use later on in your marketing and sales and business.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'll add 2 things. I don't know if you've seen that. OpenAI themselves share their best practices for writing better prompts. And 2 things that they're saying that are relevant to what you just said. One is to use external capabilities, not just in the model. So as today, ChatGPT can browse the internet. So when you give it your 3 competitors and you give their website links, ChatGPT can actually go and check out those links and see the data that's there. And if you be more specific of landing pages that they have or specific marketing materials that your competition is using, you can refer ChatGPT to that. The other thing that they're saying that relates to the same thing is that if you give ChatGPT reference materials, you will get better answers. So this touches on the same thing. If you have your competitors or even your own marketing brochures, background on the business, the about page of you or your competition, anything like that you can add into the prompt will get you better, more specific results, which is what you want to do when you try to figure out who's your target audience.
Yeah, I really like those tips. I did see those. And I think a lot of them too are because it's a large language model. So while it has access to so much information, so much knowledge, if you don't almost limit its options or give it very specific constraints, often you just might end up getting something that's irrelevant or not really usable. So yes, I like those tips, and I'm actually glad that they put them out because before some of these tips were known, but it was just other people theorizing about them or arriving to them from testing different prompts and seeing what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's best practice for everybody who, like you and me, who does this every single day, knew by reading and following and testing, but the vast majority of population probably didn't. So I'm glad they did.
Yeah, no, I'm glad they did as well. So, and so with this ICP research, you can see here, this is a demo. This is some of the output that ChatGPT will give you. It'll talk about things like messaging, value prop, and obviously other aspects. And then after this step, we'll transition to the next step, which is ideation. So for this, you're thinking of how to stand out, what are creative hooks or angles you can use, let's say for your landing page that you're going to build to talk about your product. And the prompt for this, again, is these prompts are all simple. You can obviously make them a lot more fancy. It's ChatGPT, brainstorm, and list 5 unique value propositions that would make my SaaS product stand out in the e-commerce sector. Can you suggest 3 creative hooks or angles that make my landing page more engaging?
Cool. Yeah, again, going back to what we talked before, the providing some reference material will make it better, but it's a great way to tell it what to do. And it's a great way, again, I think the number one thing that these tools are great at is ideation, right? You can brainstorm because everything we're saying here, right? So Andrew is giving us like a starting point, but you don't stop there, right? You probably go back and forth 20, 30 steps deep and kind of explore. The way I use ChatGPT mostly is really for these kind of things of just brainstorming ideas. Okay, give me 3 ideas. Like you said, it will give you one. Or like, oh, I really like the second one. Let's explore this further. And it gives you more details. And then you ask about one of these details. I'm like, okay, how do we look at it from that perspective and compare to this thing? So really look at it as if you hired a consultant and you just ask it questions and keep on going. And I think one of the mistakes people make is they write the first prompt. Let's say they just copied yours and you give them something that's okay, that's not great. Like I can't really use it for a marketing campaign. I'm like, no, keep going. You have to keep going. And so look at each and every one of those steps that Andrew is sharing with us as a starting point for a longer conversation on that particular topic.
Yeah, and I really like the way you described it. It should be a conversation, and that if you get output you don't like, then you try to either give it more context or more constraints, and then ask it to basically give it the same request again after doing that. And generally, you'll get better output. And for this, here's a demo of ChatGPT brainstorming landing page ideas and what that looks like and just different concepts it's suggesting.
So
Again,
let's
what's
read,
good?
because most
Sure.
people are not seeing our screen other than the people watching this on YouTube or some of the snippets on LinkedIn. If you can read some of the examples so people know what the outcome is.
Sure. So the three here, like these are three unique value propositions it came up with: AI-driven customer insights, implement advanced AI to provide e-commerce businesses with deep customer insights, helping them understand purchasing behavior, preferences, and trends. So that's the first idea. The second idea is an eco-friendly e-commerce solution, which is where you differentiate your SaaS product by emphasizing the commitment to sustainability and focusing on that angle for e-commerce businesses to reduce their carbon footprint. And then the third idea is a conversion boosting augmented reality, where you're going to integrate cutting edge AR tech into your SaaS platform to, again, help your customers stand out and give them more options in terms of products and things that they can do.
Cool. Yeah. So this is, as Andrew mentioned, this is just a generic example, but obviously if you give it specific business, specific field, specific competitors, even like we did in the first step, then you would get much more specific recommendations. I would say one more thing that I like doing when I do these kind of things: keep it all within the same chat, meaning don't open a new chat for each step, because then ChatGPT knows all the previous steps and it uses it as reference for the next step that it's going to do. So if initially you talked about figuring out the ICP and the pain points in the ICP and stuff like that, it will be a lot easier for ChatGPT to help you come up with the right value proposition and differentiator in this step, because it already knows everything that happened in the previous steps. And if you do it separately, then you'll have to give it some background information in order to do that better.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. Another thing I like to use in prompts too is at the end of the prompt saying, "Ask me any questions you have."
Yeah.
And that's a good one, because then even if you're using a short, simple prompt and you haven't given it context, then it'll ask you a lot of context-specific questions.
Yeah, that's an awesome tip. I do that a lot as well. It helps a lot. First of all, it will come up with questions you didn't think of. And second, it will provide ChatGPT exactly the context it needs in order to give you better results. So leaving it as an open-ended, first ask me any questions you have in order to give me the best results, it will ask you a bunch of 2 to 10 questions. And then once you answer those, you'll get a much better result in the end. Great tip. Another thing that you can use if you're doing this for the same business every single time, you can use some of your company/product data in the, whatchamacallit, it's slipped my mind, the custom instructions. So you have at the settings of ChatGPT, you can give it some background instructions that work for every single prompt without you having to write it again and again. So if what you're doing is always around the same company, the same product, the same service, you can put a lot of the background information in your custom instructions, and then it will use that as reference regardless of what you put or not put in the prompt itself.
Yeah, I really like that, because you just do it once, and then even if you create different chat threads, it always knows and has that context for you.
Yeah, awesome. So we covered ICP research and finding out pain points and who they are and what they want. And then we did some ideation on what is the value proposition that we want to offer these people based on what we found in the first step. What's the next step?
Exactly. And so the next step is the actual campaign plan. And this is where we ask ChatGPT to help us create the plan. So for this, it's, again, another simple prompt. ChatGPT, outline a detailed 4-week campaign plan focusing on driving targeted traffic to my new landing page. List the key milestones and deadlines I should aim for in the next month for my landing page campaign.
Same thing here. It's, consider this a generic example, right? The more information you're going to give it about exactly what you want, about the channels you want to use. So I want this campaign to be just on Instagram. I want this campaign to be across multiple channels. I want this campaign to be for whatever other, like you said in the beginning, you said either restraints or specific context will help you get better and more detailed results.
Exactly. And I don't know if I have this in these slides, but another good constraint too is to give it your budget and say, hey, my budget is X. So what are, some good channels or tactics that you'd recommend? That's a helpful one too, because that budget is typically the limiting factor for companies. Yeah. So this is the demo. What we're looking at here is the output of the last prompt from ChatGPT. And as you can see, it gave us the 4-week plan. It starts with week 1, and it's even breaking it down by days. So day 1 through 2 is keyword research and SEO optimization. Day 3 to 5 is content creation. Day 6 to 7, social media teasers, and obviously you can go on from there. But this is pretty nice because now you have a campaign plan. Something like this, when I would do it myself or when I was even leading a team of campaign managers, you'd start from a template that we spent a lot of time building and customizing the template and putting in pieces, taking out others. So the fact that you get this instantly is pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now we'll move on to step 4, which is copywriting. I love copywriting. It's one of my favorite things in marketing. In fact, I think if you're getting started in marketing, if you learn copywriting first, it'll make everything else easier for you.
It makes you think through the lens of what the user would be interested in the most crystallized way, right? Because in copywriting, you're not going to write 3 pages, you're going to write a sentence, and that sentence has to capture everything. So yes, I agree with you. It's the essence of marketing.
Exactly. And if you're a good copywriter, it's easy to learn a new channel and figure out how to get attention and keep attention on that channel once you learn the technicals of that channel. So for step 4, the copywriting, this is a ChatGPT prompt for this as well. That goes, ChatGPT, write a compelling headline and subheadline that encapsulate the unique value of my SaaS product for e-commerce businesses. Generate 3 different calls to action for my landing page that encourage signups. Again, this is a very basic prompt for copywriting too, and this is an opportunity to touch on other AI tools. I've found that Claude by Anthropic actually tends to be really good at copywriting in the sense that by default, the text it generates is more conversational, feels more human, and it actually adheres to constraints more. So if you're ever given it like a character limit or a word limit, for some reason, Claude is actually better found than ChatGPT. So that's an opportunity to also try out that tool.
So quick question about that. First of all, I agree with you. I use Claude for a lot of the writing that I do, including social media, including blogging, including a lot of other stuff, even some of the emails. So I use it for many things, and I find the same way that it's easier to get it to capture my voice and the direction I wanted to go, like in my head, versus ChatGPT. I did do the effort of training ChatGPT to my voice and got better results, but out of the box, I agree that Claude did a better job. I want to ask you about, since you started mentioning other tools, do you use with it just for your stuff or for your clients, other tools like some of the professional writing or research tools that are out there, or you mostly focus on the large language models?
I mostly focus on the large language models. The other tool that is pretty good for both copy, but beyond copy, is actually copy.ai. A lot of people know copy.ai for copywriting or writing, but now they have these full-blown automations in there so I can go into copy.ai, say, I want to start reaching out to people on LinkedIn, and it creates like a full sequence of steps. Like it's going to scrape the profiles, use that to write a personalized message, and then give me all the messages at once. So you can just do like more sequences, which is pretty interesting. I know you could do that in other tools, but what's nice about their tool is you can describe the sequence using a prompt and get like 7 steps and just quickly edit or modify each step as needed. So I think that's a good tool. But yeah, no, as far as I think between Claude, ChatGPT, and copy.ai, I haven't had to learn anything else. If you can train ChatGPT, it is better because it has internet access and because of the plugins. So I think in your case, as you learn ChatGPT, if you can train it in the long term, it's probably better. I imagine at some point, Claude will catch up with plugins, but the fact that it has plugins and you could also connect it to other tools easily and do all kinds of stuff in there makes, I think, ChatGPT like a better investment for your time.
Yeah, I agree. And you need to remember that when we're saying about investment, the tools themselves are $20 a month, right? It's not like a serious investment. And even if you have a team of 4 in your marketing team that all must have access at the same time, and you need 4 licenses, which you can share a license, but let's say you need 4 licenses, it's still $80 a month. It's still free from a business marketing expense perspective. And there's multiple other tools that you can explore. And I think the biggest difference is the more specific tools like copy.ai, like Jasper, like Writer, all these tools provide you specific frameworks already to work in the steps that usually marketing teams use. So if you're going to use copy.ai, if you're going to use Writer, you will get frameworks that you're used to from a marketing team, from the research through ideation, through execution, through review of the bullet points of the overall thing you want to say, from that to writing the copy of the different segments, and all those different steps are already built in. When in ChatGPT, you got to do this yourself. And then it's really up to you which one is more comfortable for you to use, and compare that with the expense you got to put in there. You can do more or less everything you can do in the fancier tools in ChatGPT if you built your own framework around it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I have heard that for people new to AI tools, using some of those existing AI writing tools is easier because of the frameworks and the templates. Yep. Whereas you're right, like with ChatGPT, some of the best landing page prompts I've seen, you're giving it the entire landing page structure in this mega prompt, and it has 10 or 15 different sections. And it's obviously, if the prompt works, but those tools almost turn those kind of things into frameworks, and you can quickly add the frameworks. So they are, I think some of those tools are more user friendly and accessible for people who are just starting out.
Yeah, absolutely. And for teams, right? So if you want to work in a team and you want some place that manages the process and the handshake between the people and the different steps and multiple things of those running in parallel, then these tools are built for that, right? They use the same AI tools they use in the back end. Most of them use either ChatGPT or Claude or a combination of those. Most of them do not have their own large language model. They just have trained it for very specific marketing tasks, which means on those specific tasks, it will be better than ChatGPT out of the gate. Not if you trained it yourself, but then you get to the same thing, but you have to invest that process. But it also helps you manage the process across multiple people and different teams, which is a big benefit if you are an organization and not just a one-person marketing team.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, because then a lot of the things you can, let's say your brand voice and style and things like that, you can set once, and then all your team members sort of access that, and so that makes a lot of sense. Yes, and now we're just showing a demo slide of what ChatGPT generated for the landing page. Nothing surprising here. It's a headline, a sub-headline, some potential calls to action used.
Cool. Yeah, one of the things that I've recorded an episode a few episodes ago, and I've started using it regularly since with Audrey. So the episode was with Audrey Chia. She's amazing when it comes to creating landing pages using AI. But what she showed me and we shared with the audience, and now, like I said, I'm doing this all the time, is you can take your own landing page and run it through ChatGPT to analyze it, and you can compare it to really good landing pages that of people that you follow that know that convert very well, and it will tell you what the differences are. This one has this before that, it has a bigger font, it gets your attention to this point before it does that, it has a more clear call to action, like all these different things. It will tell you what the other landing page is better than yours, and then you can tweak your landing page. So in addition to getting this initial recommendation of what your landing page can be based on all the previous steps that Andrew shared with us, you can actually compare the landing page, including its design, like the actual graphics and everything, to a page that works very well because it's a competitor of yours that knows that done very well. It's a person that you know that does very good funnels and very good landing pages. So you can use that as a benchmark to improve the initial results you get straight out of ChatGPT.
Yeah, I really like that. By the way, I do know Audrey. She's great. So I think for copywriting with AI, she's probably one of the best people out there. What's nice too about what you're describing is that sometimes, like when I'm thinking of my writing style or tone or how I even structure things, it's hard for me to think like how to put it in words because I just have learned to write a certain way like that over the years of doing it. So even when I take you write my own writing and tell ChatGPT analyze this for voice, style, structure, sentence length, simplicity, flow, and anything else that you find, and then it goes through and then it gives me the analysis. It's very interesting because it's like a lot of those things I just haven't thought of before, but now I know how to describe them, and now I can almost have it as a script to where even if I had someone else helping create some content, if I give them the script and they put it in, they'll get something very similar to how I'm going to say it, which is actually like pretty cool.
Yeah. So going back just to describe the tactics, the practical aspect of what you just said, when I work with my clients, I recommend to all of them to create a prompt library. And the prompt library will have a million aspects of different prompts doing different things. One of them could be this, right? One of them could be a prompt that analyzes the tone and the flow and the style of the writing. So everybody in the business, when they create content, will sound aligned with the company guidelines and brand and so on. And once you figure out the prompt once, so analyze the following text for the following things. Here's 3 samples of the way we want it to come out. Here is the actual guidelines that we have in a PDF somewhere, and so on and so forth. You can use that and then save it somewhere. And it doesn't have to be a fancy tool. This could be a Google Sheets. It could be a Word document. It could be a shared folder in a task management tool like Monday. Or it could be, I use a Chrome plugin called Magical that allows you to save little short versions of the long prompt and then use those, but you can share them across people in your company or your organization. So now anybody who writes something can type, let's say, brand guide in one word. So it doesn't do that every time. And every time you run brand guide in one word, it will spit out this whole prompt that could be a page long. And now all you have to do is attach the new text. So in 0 time, you get that feedback that Andrew is talking about. So it's not a lot of work to get all that effort. It's a lot of work to develop it once, but then you and your team can use it moving forward a million times.
Yeah, no, and I really like that. I also like the example of using those extensions in your browser. What is nice about the extensions is that you don't even have to switch to a different tab. It's just right there. And I know a lot of people find those convenient. So with that, we'll move on to the next step, which is step 5. This is the design step. So for this, for context, this was written before DALL-E was integrated into ChatGPT. So now that DALL-E is there, there's obviously a lot more you could do with this, but the prompt is simple. ChatGPT suggests 3 color schemes that evoke feelings of trust and reliability for my landing page. Recommend 2 layout designs that are optimized for conversions and user engagement. Again, this is referencing the landing page. With DALL-E now being built into ChatGPT, there's obviously a lot more you can do now and things like that.
Yeah, I agree. What I do now, like when I create, I speak on a lot of stages and I give a lot of presentations online. And when I do this, I use ChatGPT to help me come up with a presentation and so on. But because it knows exactly what the presentation is already about, and because it knows what the slide is about, I literally do something very similar to this. I say, give me 3 ideas of the graphics I can have on the slide. I like graphics that is simple, clean, and blah, blah, whatever, and to the point, and has some funny kind of like wink approach to it related to what's in the slide. And it will give me 3 ideas. And usually one of the 3 is fantastic. And then I will literally just ask it to create it for me. And it does. And in many cases, the first run is okay, but not brilliant. So then depending on how much time I have, do I go and do this again and again? But it's a great starting point for you to actually create graphics, like you said, for anything. This could be a landing page. This could be a website. This could be a PDF brochure that you're creating for whatever purpose, or this could be a presentation that you're going to give. You can use, because it knows everything that we've done previously, going back to what we talked about before. It knows the persona, it knows the product, it knows the company, it knows everything we talked about. And now you're just asking it for design and colors. It will take everything else into account and will help you design the layout, the graphics, the colors for your landing page.
Yeah, I really like that. And again, the fact that it could incorporate all of these things is great, because traditionally you'd have to get either a branding person or sometimes even an agency, and they would spend weeks just going through all of those aspects. So the fact that you can give ChatGPT some context and it can help with those things is just very impressive.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing that is helpful for people who, and it's most people probably, right? There's some brand guidelines that you want to use when it comes to colors, when it comes to font, when it comes to all these things. You can upload that as a reference to ChatGPT. Something that I'm doing a lot is I'm uploading, if it's a presentation, previous images from the presentation. If it's my website, here's a graphics I'm currently using on my website. I want to use the same style. I want to use the same color scheme. I want to use the same font, and it knows how to pick up on those things. And then the graphics that you're getting is consistent with other stuff that you've done, whether within the page or within the rest of your website or your company branding overall.
Yeah, I really like that. And now we're basically looking at the demo of this prompt. So as we can see here, ChatGPT came up with a color scheme. It's recommending deep blue and white and explaining that blue is a classic color. Also recommending just a few different color scheme options. The second one is slate gray and mint green, and then new blue and gold. Again, this is the kind of stuff that if you ever work with a branding agency, they would spend, this would be an entire presentation. They would have the colors up and they would be going on and on about this for an hour. And it's not that I love branding, but the fact that you can do this with something like ChatGPT is pretty cool.
And then it will cost you $20,000. You forgot that part.
Yeah. And it can take, like a rebrand can take 3 months, 6 months. It's pretty intense process. And since we're talking about design too, the other, I think, very user-friendly option now that has pretty cool AI features is Canva. So Canva's Magic Studio has, I think, like last time I counted, almost 10 different sort of AI tools that can do all kinds of things. You can even use simple prompts to generate images. You can add motion, take a static image and add motion to it. But the way Canva added those features is just in a very simple and intuitive way. So I think too, if you're using Canva, I think like Canva's Magic Studio and looking into those features are definitely worth your time.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. They've done a great work of taking the Canva tool and changing very little in the flows and the user interface and still giving you all these really cool benefits of using AI to generate, adapt, remove, change, upgrade, like whatever it is that you need to do within Canva, within almost zero changes to the user interface, which is amazing. They've done a really good job. So I totally second your recommendation.
Great. Yeah, no, I think their interface is the reason the tool is very popular, because it's very inviting because of how simple it looks. So now step 6 is where we focus on the channels. And this is where we have a prompt asking ChatGPT for recommendations. The prompt is, ChatGPT, recommend the top 3 marketing channels that are most effective for driving high quality traffic to SaaS landing page. Analyze the cost effectiveness of using paid ads versus organic search to drive traffic to my landing page.
Cool. Yeah, again, going back to 2 important things when you do this. One is this is obviously a simplistic example, as Andrew said. In a real environment, give it every detail that you can about previous campaigns that you've run, about what your competition is doing, about how much budget you have that Andrew mentioned, about all the different things that you can to get the better ideas about the specific users, about previous success and failures on other channels that you've seen, your competition. Like any piece of information you can add to this will get you a better outcome. But the other thing is you have to come to this, and going back to my description of Andrew's background, Andrew looks at this, yeah, I've done this for 15 years. I know exactly how this is supposed to look like. And you have to come to it this way. If you have no background in marketing and you just throw this out there and we'll give you something and we'll try it out, you will most likely fail. Meaning you need some background in marketing, in sales, in understanding the customers, in understanding landing pages, in understanding conversion, to then take whatever the AI gives you and tweak it to really fit your niche, your needs, your specific product, the time of year. Like there's so many aspects to this beyond the simple prompt. So this is just another intern that helps you in the process. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to just run these prompts and now I have a campaign, it's going to be successful. It's not the way it works. You got to wear your marketing hat and use this while giving it as much of your knowledge in order to get the best results out of it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. With the current state of a lot of these AI tools, at best, they're an assistant. They're not yet at the point where they as intelligent as a human being with experience in a specific field. So that's an important thing to keep in mind, as if you don't know sales and you take some sales prompts and you run them through ChatGPT, but again, you've never gotten on a call, you've never done outreach or whatever, like cold outreach, it might give you a script and stuff, but you versus someone who's done sales, the person who's done sales is likely to be a lot more successful with that script. And if the script isn't good, they'll know and they'll be able to give it more direction to ChatGPT to get a better script back and things like that. So that's always important to keep in mind. It's not a replacement for business skills or expertise. And yeah, so here we see ChatGPT came up with channels. It's showing 3 channels that it's recommending: search engine optimization, SEO, content marketing, social media marketing. Again, these are pretty popular channels. Here it's explaining why you should use each one and kind of why each one stands out. But I think a lot of these are very popular channels. So now step 7 is the execution step. And this is where we ask ChatGPT, this is the prompt: ChatGPT, create a detailed checklist outlining the final steps and elements needed to launch my landing page successfully. Set reminders for key milestones and deadlines in my landing page campaign for the next 4 weeks. So that's the prompt. And basically you're using ChatGPT here to help you stay on task when you go to execute this campaign. And as you can see, it almost comes up with a checklist broken down by week on everything you need to focus on execution-wise. Week 1 is the pre-launch preparation. There's different steps there, like the keyword research, content creation, social media. Then it's week 2, launch and initial promotion, focused on landing page, email, and social media, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I'll add one more thing to, again, the practical, tactical aspect on how to make this even more useful on the day-to-day. If you take your whatever task management tool you're using, whether it's Monday or ClickUp or Asana or whatever it is that you're using in your marketing department, and you export a campaign that you did to a CSV, you'll be able to see how the columns are broken down. Meaning it's going to have date in column A, name of campaign in column B, task in column C, and so on and so forth. You will have different things. And when you create this in ChatGPT or any other large language models, you can ask it eventually to export this as a CSV in the same format. You go back into ChatGPT after you got the list. I would like to export this as a CSV. I want column A to be this, column B to be that, and so on, in the same format as your marketing tool, which means then you can import that into your marketing tool with 0 effort. Which means now everything that ChatGPT created, and you don't have to take, obviously, the first draft. You can go back and forth several times. Once it's in CSV, you can make minor changes to it. But then with 0 effort, you have it set up for the different steps, the different dates, the different people, the different segments of your marketing department. And all you have to do is basically tag the people that needs to do the tasks, which is significantly less work than now going and starting to write each of those things manually. So there's a lot of these little tricks that once you learn them in the process will save you a hell of a lot of time and improve your efficiency even further in the connection of AI tools to the stuff that you're already doing today as far as managing a marketing department.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. A lot of these tools too, like they generally provide like a schema for how you want to structure the CSV. You literally just copy the schema from their help doc and input it into ChatGPT, and it'll give you like the table output of so that's also pretty nice. And now the final step, this is more of a bonus, is just looking at the KPIs and the performance of the campaign. So the prompt I have for this is ChatGPT lists the key performance indicators I should focus on to measure the success of my landing page. ChatGPT suggests 3 tools that offer real-time analytics and tracking capabilities for my landing page. So this, again, ensures that you're going to track the performance and be able to judge how the campaign is doing. And the demo part of this, the output of ChatGPT, as you can see, there's conversion rate, bounce rate, click-through rate, time on page, traffic sources. It just basically gives you a bunch of metrics that you can focus on to track how your campaign is doing.
I'll add one more thing to that from the actual tracking, because what was initially, whatever they called it in the beginning, and then data analysis, and now it's built into ChatGPT itself. You can actually upload the raw data from your different marketing tools into ChatGPT to actually do the analysis for you. So again, if you go to Google Analytics or whatever social platform you're publishing this through, or a marketing tool that tracks different things, such as open rate and click-through rate for your landing page, for your emails, etc., you can take all that data from the various different sources, upload them as CSVs to ChatGPT, and get it to help you analyze the information. And it does an incredible job in analyzing 2 things. It helps you very well analyze, connect the dots that otherwise it's sometimes hard to connect across different tools. And the other thing, it's very good at qualitative data analysis. So if there's an open field for like feedback on any of those things, it will know how to look at all these open text segments that now come from hundreds or thousands of people who filled it up, and compare them and tell you what's good, what's bad, what's standing out, what you should be paying attention to, and so on. So there's, in this KPI step, you can actually go a step further and actually perform some of the data analysis using ChatGPT or similar tools. In this particular case, I think the only one that has like data analysis built straight into it is ChatGPT.
Yeah, I really like that example. The biggest marketing team that I worked on was around like, I think 40, 50 people. And there was a full-time role who was a data analyst on the marketing team. And we would literally do that at the end of every month. He had the process set up for it. All the data from all the different channels, dashboards, whatever it is, all the different tools would be exported. It would be dumped somewhere. He had all these complex reports built up to go through the data, with the goal being to get to what's generating qualified leads, what's generating sales pipeline, and just what's effective in a marketing sense. So the fact too that you can now combine a lot of these sort of exports together, upload it to ChatGPT, and if it has some context about your business, what you're trying to do, it can sift through it and give you some recommendations is also pretty impressive. And I think to your point, especially if you can include anything qualitative or anything where it's feedback or reviews. So I did this at companies previously where we would look at all the contact form submissions. It'd be a description field, and we would do this manually. We would just read through what people were saying they want to see in the demo or what they're interested in. Especially if you're a big company, you have 1,000 submissions, you can just export all of those, give them to ChatGPT and ask it to analyze it. And you would get very useful insights for your messaging, for how you go to market and all those things.
And I'll add one to that, because I agree with you 100%. It's exactly that process. Today, there are plugins that combine these capabilities straight into Excel or Google Sheets, which means you don't even have to upload them to ChatGPT. You can literally run the review within a CSV file on like Google Sheets. The beauty of that is that in addition to the aggregated information, you can get specific information for each and every one of the lines, which means, as an example, you can write a respond to each and every one of those lines automatically. So if you have customer reviews and you want to write back to each person who wrote a review, whether good or bad, you can have ChatGPT write a specific review, a specific answer to that specific review in each and every one of the lines of the CSV, and automate that through Zapier or N8N, or make one of those to actually reply back on the platform to that person within seconds from the moment they write their review. So in addition to collecting the information, analyzing information, you have an execution assistant on actually replying and keeping an active engagement with your customer audience. Andrew, this was really great. We really went through the full thing, from research to ideation to campaign planning to copywriting to design, channel selection, execution, monitoring the results. It's a very comprehensive guide. I really appreciate your time. If people want to follow you, work with you, talk to you, what are the best ways to do that?
Sure. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So just find me on there, Andrew Bolis, Bolis. I post on there daily. I share these mini tutorials about how to do different things in ChatGPT and AI tools. A lot of them are specifically for marketers and salespeople.
Awesome. This was really great. Thank you for your time. Everybody, this is coming out probably after the new year, but still a good time to wish everybody a happy new year and a kick-ass 2024 in whatever it is you're going to do. And I want to thank you, Andrew, for taking the time and joining us.
Okay, thank you for having me on.